And so anyhow, I was talking with a friend last night, and we are talking about Sandman. Watched a couple of clips with him. I haven't really been into Sandman or watching Sandman at all. Okay, I really haven't. Since probably about 5 years back when Sandman was asleep to TFL and said the things he said, I just haven't had no interest in watching anything that he's ever put out. But I got a friend who watches him regularly. It appears Sandman has recognized TFL, recognized what's going on in the dating scene further. And a lot of the TFLers have gone over there and are listening to him, and he's giving advice. Some of the stuff he says is very sound advice that I totally agree with. Okay? And it's nice that he's actually seeing it and recognizes that there's definitely an issue, okay? And lots of men are being put in a situation from a young age to where they will never actually have a woman in their life. It's sad to see, but it is the social conditioning. It is the Fabians, the Masons. It's the people we've allowed to run this world that has done this to us. And changing people's behaviors after they're this far programmed and this far along is next to impossible to do. But I think about something that's just astonishing when I look at the reality. First off, with the epidemic that they've caused in so many men, just like with Jerry yesterday, showed me some new an app that's on his phone, okay, of what the dating scene is like today. And basically, what you got is these new apps is women selling their bodies for sex. And that's really what they're doing. They're selling their bodies for sex. That's the new dating app, is to sell your body for sex. So dating is no longer a friendship, a relationship, two people knowing one another, being friends, lovers, being everything, being there for each other, companionship. It's not about a family structure. It's not about anything but sex. That's all it's become. And that is pretty disgusting, if you ask me. That a relationship has been reduced to nothing but sex. And with that, of course, you're always going to have the guys that, well, the women ain't going to want. That's right. Or they can't got the money, or they ain't got the whatever to buy this. What? Sex? Okay, what, they're going to go out and hire a prostitute? It's disgusting. It's sick. This is what they've done to the relationships. This is what they've done to men and women. And this is what we've become. And even the sadder part is there's going to be more and more TFLers every year. And it's going to become out of control. It's already growing. TFL is doing nothing but getting bigger. And it's only going to get bigger. It can't go any other direction. And it won't go any other direction. The majority of women are still going to be chasing their 20%, but now relationship status will be gone. Family units will be gone. Okay? And it's merely going to be about just that. Well, Sandman's talking about some of this stuff. And he's working on trying to market this app that he's going to make that he thinks is going to put a hurting on the women and take the power away from the women. He clearly stated he's not advocating for taking women's rights away from women, that the women should have the same rights as men, that it should be equal that way. He clearly made that statement, but also believes that the power needs to be taken away from women. And my belief in the power should be taken away from men and women. Nobody should have power over nobody. But the app he's made that he's working on designing, he believes that he'll be able to market will do just that, remove power away from women, leaving women in a situation where they wake up and realize what they're doing. But that's because Sandman doesn't understand where the problem comes from. It's because he don't understand how we got this way, who created this. He also don't understand it was deliberate. And you have to look into the Masons, the Fabians, the social engineering that has created this problem to begin with. And you have to look for where it came from to understand this. He thinks this app he's creating is going to do something. Well, he's going to be butting heads with the elitists to begin with, because it's not an accident that they're designing sex robots in Japan. It's not an accident that people in top positions and high spots with the backing of the elite, the Jews, the Masons, with the money and the backing, are already creating this sex bots. And doesn't that match our dating app now? With all these women, you just pick a face and they're selling themselves for sex. Sex. It's not about a relationship anymore. It's not about companionship. It's not about creating a family and a family structure. It's not about any of that no more. It's about one thing and one thing only: usury. The complete decay of our society is in your face right now. And so I don't see Sandman ever getting off the ground with what he's wanting to do, because he hasn't looked into what's really going on. Where does this problem come from? The root cause? And thought about what's really going on, and that the industry, the invention he's wanting to create, what he's wanting to create, that he foresees as a strike back against the female gender, okay, isn't really a strike back against the female gender at all. It's the destruction of our society. And the app he's making is helping to do just that. Because the dating app that Jerry showed me in today's dating scene is nothing but centered to one thing and one thing only. Pay her, give her materialistic items. Whoever could do the most for her, that she's also turned on by, are going to be the ones that are going to get sex. It's not a relationship. It's sex. And that is going to cause TFL to escalate. And that is exactly what they want. Because see, Sandman's creation or act that he's trying to create is already being done. But by people in a lot bigger place than he is. With the backing. With non-stop cash flow. And the marketing. And it's been deliberately done. It's for population reduction. They're already creating, they've already had the technology to create designer babies. Real babies, designer babies. They are already building sex bots. So I don't see his app really going anywhere. And even if it does, it's only helping to decay our society. So there's that. You know, and it's just sad because these people don't look to see what's really going on to begin with. Most of the people don't even understand or realize. They don't even know the names of these people that are behind this. And there's nothing I can do about this, okay? Nor can Sandman do about this. He gives some valid points to TFLers. He says some good things. He's finally starting to see and actually recognizes there is a problem, but he's not recognizing the cause. So that's sad within itself, but I guess I don't expect anything else, do I, huh? You know, one of the sad things that I see, that just still it floors me. How come there hasn't been an outcry? Okay? How come people haven't already said something? The division has been designed so bad and has actually become so bad that this has actually played out for years and years now, right in everybody's face. And I don't see no outcry. I don't see no rebellion against it at all. Nobody's speaking up and saying anything. And that is the male bashing. We all know already that it was turned around. And it was female bashing, the female bashing that was in all of your music. There was in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of your sitcoms. There was in your movies. I mean, there's literally thousands and thousands of movies and sitcoms and songs that are dedicated to male bashing. Male bashing. The guy's the perpetrator, the guy's the monster, the guy's the rapist, the guy's this, the guy's that, the guy's this, the guy's that. And as being a man, when you grow up in a world and everything that you watch or see, just about everything, I mean, it's not 100% everything, but there's so much of it that it's in your face, it's in your face, it's in your face, it's in your face, right there all the time. If this was being done onto women, there'd be a big outcry. They would have stood up already. The women literally would have stood up already, and there would have been a big outcry. And so would all of your simps and weak so-called I wished I was a man who are out there doing this behavior to think somehow this is going to score them a woman in their life. And for all these women that are out here, even Karen Stroud, you know, girls' rights what? MRA, the men's right activist movement that was taken over by a female, right? And PUA, pickup artist industry, taken over by a female. So see, even the men's right activist group is being run by a female. And you don't see the irony in that, huh? But that's not even the point. Because so what if it's a female? This female claims she's fighting for men's rights. Okay? Is she really fighting for men's rights? Have you ever asked yourself that question? How come this female hasn't addressed all of the sitcoms, all of the movies, and all of the music? And even if she addressed it, what would she be willing to do about that? What would she advocate for society to do about that? How come women who claim that they're fighting for males and they see what's going on, like MRA, girls' rights what, and all these females that she has talking to her, and all of her podcasts, how come you don't see an outcry of why are we putting all this male bashing in our music? Why is everything so one-sided? You know, because if a woman had to sit down and she was watching Lifetime, which I like to call Lifetime channel, male bashing channel, because that's really what it is. The Lifetime network is basically the male bashing network. Well, what if we had a channel like the Lifetime network that dedicated every single movie, or just about at least 95% of the movies, in the movies was going to be female bashing, female bashing. She was the perpetrator, she was the villain, she was the this, she was the that. And what if our music industry flipped it all around? And the music was dedicated to the man, to the man, to the man, to the man, to the man. And you had songs singing about how the females bash, singing how bad the female is, and that the female's this and the female's that. You know there would be an outcry. So how is it? How the hell is this, excuse my language, that you're going to have a men's rights movement, MRA, who's pretty big, all the followers that Karen has, but yet not a single thing is being done. Not a single thing is being done at all. It's just the same old, same old. Meanwhile, they still keep producing it. 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 You don't see people standing out there with signs picketing, stop the male bashing, stop the male bashing. How do you think it is for men? They can't watch anything without seeing it. They become so numb that they've just accepted their abuse. They become so weak that they just accept their abuse. And if you bring up the abuse, well, you're a woman hater. That's obvious, isn't it? But yet if we turn this around and the women brought it up, they would not be a man hater. No! There'd be a problem. We'd have to address it. That's what would happen. And it would be stopped. But because it's a guy, it just still goes on. Even in today's society. Even in the sitcoms they're producing. Even in the movies they're producing. You've now got the movies as the woman as the superhero. She's the tough one. She's the one going out there kicking ass and blah, 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 and saving the world. That's right. I have nothing against the woman as being a superhero, the woman that's the spy, that, the new James Bond is a female. I have nothing against all of that. My problem is how is it that you honestly can tell me you don't see this? This is to the females. How is it that you honestly can tell me you don't see this? Because it's become so norm to you that you think this is how it's supposed to be, don't you? Isn't that the real reason? So therefore, because it's become so norm to you that you believe this is how it's to be, you don't see or perceive the problem. And the guys become so numb and used to being bashed and taking it that they actually believe that's supposed to be norm, just like the females. When there's nothing norm about it at all. Just like in the dating scene. How is it that you can sit there and look at all these young 18, 19, 20-year-old girls on these new apps like on what Jerry showed me yesterday, do nothing but selling themselves for sex? And that is the new dating. Don't you understand where this is going? Do you think it's an accident that people like Sandman would be taking his time now to try to create this app and market it and put stock on it? There's going to be nothing about sex, and that the people can order these dolls, these robots, and put whatever female face on that robot they want for sex. And how the globalists are designing and creating real sex bots. That's right, sex bots, robots. That all of these men that you're dumping on because we're not in a war against men, are we? No, it's a war against women. Bullshit. It's a war against both of us, men and women alike. It's a war against us completely. It's the complete destruction of your society and the end of the family unit. Where's your children going with this? Why do you even want children? What, to grow up in a world where they're taught the government's their dad? Their mom? What are all these women on these dating apps selling themselves? What are they going to do when they get pregnant? Well, maybe we'll just fix all these women so they can't get pregnant. Do you really see what you're doing? Do you see what the Fabians and the Masons have done to us? Do you see what's happening here? Do you even understand the concept of the destruction that's happening right in your face? See, there shouldn't be somebody like Sandman looking to invent an app that you can put whatever face you want on this head that he's going to sell. They can be put on your sex bot or your doll. So the guys no longer need a woman. Because it's all about sex. And these females up on these new dating apps selling themselves. And these idiot guys, completely stupid, bending over backwards and spending thousands of dollars and doing this and this and this just to please her so that they can place their dick between her legs. It's disgusting. It's sickening. So much for a family unit. So when you tell me leave it to Beaver days are gone, no, they need to return. What kind of society do you want? What do you want? Men and women so divided that we couldn't get along if we tried? You wonder where my anger comes from? You wonder why I might come off as a woman hater? I'm not a woman hater. I've said this a million times and I'll keep saying it. I've never have been. I have a wife because I'm not a woman hater. I have an ex that I had a child with that's growing up now that I raised by myself. And I've had other girlfriends in my life. I'm not a woman hater. Never have been. You don't understand me. You don't understand my anger. My anger is from everything I just said in this video that you've heard me say. That's where it comes from. My anger is, how do you sit back and allow this kind of male bashing to go on? And how come you could have a men's rights activist group that used to be run by a man that's now being run by a woman? And if this woman is so-called fighting for men's rights, why is this still going on? Well, because they're going to tell you to call you a senator or congressman. We got to change this. You can't change it by calling your congressman or your senator. There is no Democrat. There is no Republican. The president don't run this country. You can't change it by going to the people that are following their orders. Because that's what's going on. That is the real truth that none of you want to see. is that all of your senators and all of your congressmen are nothing more than puppets. They're there to buffalo you into believing you have freedom, but you don't have. They're following the order of their bosses. The president's doing what his boss is telling him to do. And it's his bosses, not just bankers. People get stuck on this Rothschild and Rockefeller thing. Yes, these Rothschilds and Rockefellers are deep into this. But they're not the ones calling the shots. The Masons, the Fabians, and the bankers are all working together. Yeah, they're working together. This goes so deep that you wouldn't even begin to understand probably. But understand this. You've been lied to your whole life. You're having phony elections electing puppets. What puppet do we want to be our puppet next? You're not going after the cause. It's too late to turn things around now, isn't it? Because your minds are gone. Don't you see what you've done? Can't you tell what you've done to society? What they've done to us? How bad they've destroyed our society? So while you're out there thinking, no, this is BS, and you're getting married and you're having kids because you believe that we still have family units and we still have this and we still have that, you haven't looked around you at all. You don't. Not at all. I would advocate going back to the Leave It Beavers days. Start homeschooling your kids. I would agree with Jerry and say, start getting something, or maybe a little dinky house out in the middle of nowhere and get yourself off the matrix. And start learning how to grow your own food, raise your own meat, butcher your own meat, and how to survive off the land. I would advocate for this and getting rid of your TV and getting rid of the system that has destroyed you and your society. You can't tell me for one bit that it's normal to have a dating app filled full of girls that are selling their body and they're calling that dating. I said years ago, you've replaced dating with sex. You've replaced love with sex. And that app alone proves everything I've said to be 100% accurate. Because that's exactly what your new dating app is girls selling their bodies for sex. And a whole lot more men are going to be left out. And TFL is going to get bigger and bigger as we have millions and millions of men who can't even get a date. And if they was to get a date, it'd be what? The date is about sex? That's the date? So at the end of that sex session, the date's over? It's sick. It's disgusting. And no, Sandman's idea isn't going to piss the women off so bad, these feminist women, so bad, that they start thinking and seeing what's going on. You know, he even said, we got to step up on this because in a few years now, women are going to be in political positions and are going to have the power and they're going to stop us from creating this. And I fell out of my chair laughing. No! Not at all! You mean they're going to be in a puppet position, being controlled, and told what they can and can't do, and no, they're not stopping in this? Because it's already being marketed. And why is it being marketed? Because this was all deliberately done. Every last bit of it. It shows the Sandman hasn't looked into jack squat to understand why this is happening to him and all these millions of men. Why Hollywood produces all of these sitcoms and movies with male bashing. Why the music is filled full of male bashing. And that's what disgusts me about the so-called men's rights movement being run by females. These females claim they're fighting for men's rights. And the last time I looked, I've seen them over the years with Paul Elam. And I got to admit, I haven't looked at MRA in a couple, 3 years or more now. So there's probably stuff maybe they have advocated a little bit for, but why isn't there an outcry? Why don't you see women everywhere complaining about this? Why are you doing this to the men? How come the women can't see that when they wouldn't want it done unto them? Is it because they're enjoying their power structure so much that they don't care what happens to you? As long as they're getting their own want? Yeah, that's what it would be. But don't worry, I'm not criticizing the women for that. Because don't worry, the men are enjoying their bullshit so much as long as they get their wants, right? So isn't it the same both ways? Yes, it is. Do you really understand what I'm saying? I doubt it. For the people, the majority of people that I talk to, they actually do. But there's so many of you that don't. And maybe even some of the people that I talk to don't. Try to understand what I'm telling you, and you'll understand why I come off angry.